The only thing I do know about Conan O'Brien, I already killed a guy.
For the most part, I got away with murder.
You know, he's been in prison.
Hosting The Tonight Show has been the fulfillment of a lifelong dream for me. And I just want to say to the kids out there watching, you can do anything you want in life. Yeah, unless Jay Leno wants to do it too.
No, that's the way these things are. That's the way it happened.
I didn't do anything. I did as I was told.
It's that hissy fit that I didn't understand.
Chaos and craziness and mayhem.
Jay has the #1 show on television.
Just the mere mention of Jay Leno's name makes me want to vomit.
Read my lips.
Playoffs? If I have to convince you to love me, I'm not going to do that.
It took me about 3 years to just figure out what the hell happened.
Did you ever ask yourself, well, am I being selfish?
Sure. Yeah, you ask yourself that every day.
And your answer was?
I don't think so.
The Howard Stern Show.
The number one sign that someone's going through a rough time usually is they grow a beard. And I wasn't even thinking. But suddenly, and I'm not a guy that has like tons of testosterone, I had a beard overnight.
Okay, here's the deal. I got a big old story to tell you folks about the time Mr. Conan O'Brien got all kinds of mixed up with Mr. Jay Leno. So round up the little tykes and get in here and sit down. Hey, straighten up and settle in, folks. Don't make me come over there. Kick you in the shins, little rascal. Our story today is a good old-fashioned battle for the coveted Tonight Show at 11:30 on NBC. And things get real hot and hairy when Mr. Conan O'Brien sets his sights on taking Jay Leno's job.
And you had such a fixation for The Tonight Show, as many performers do, because it's rare to get that offer.
I grew up watching The Tonight Show, and I grew up, idolizing Johnny Carson and really thinking that that was the great thing to have, and what could I do with it, and could I do a different take on it? Could I do this? Could I do that?
In 2004, Conan O'Brien's contract is coming due. He's at NBC doing the show directly after Jay Leno.
Conan wanted the 11:30 spot, and he went to NBC and said, I want the 11:30 spot. If I don't get the 11:30 spot, I'm going to become a free agent, and other networks are going to offer me the 11:30 spot.
Fox came to you and said, we're going to give you $28 million to jump over to Fox.
Yeah.
So Mr. Conan O'Brien has been doing his television show on NBC since 1993, folks. And simple fact of the matter is, he's getting pretty good at doing it, and it's catching the attention of a lot of the other television networks. So in 2004, Conan goes to NBC, and he says, look, fellas, turns out I'm pretty good at doing this, and I got half a mind to leave.
Right. And NBC said, listen, we want to keep Jay on. We want you to be the 11:30 host. What we'll do is we'll make a deal in 5 years. We'll give you the Tonight Show. And Conan now has to make a decision. Should I go to ABC at 11:30 or stay here and wait and be a good soldier and take the Tonight Show at the end of it? Yeah, ABC. I know. But at the time, they were talking to him.
So basically, NBC says to Conan and his manager, we'll give you your Tonight Show, but you're going to have to wait 5 years until Mr. Jay Leno's contract is up. And then we'll swap you guys out. And then, sure, Conan, the Tonight Show is yours.
Sorry, I lied.
You said, I'll the $21 million. Fuck you, Fox. I'll stay with NBC because I want that Tonight Show. I want my shot.
Here's the other thing that was really important to me that no one thinks about.
Folks, as we all know, nobody really cares about late-night TV these days. But back in my day, Tonight Show was all the rage. Everybody loved Mr. Johnny Carson. He was a real great host. And all these late-night shows you see today are all sprung up from Tonight Show. Mr. Jay Leno even went so far as to describe it as the best job in show business. So yeah, It's kind of a big deal that Conan O'Brien is taking over.
By the way, did you hear this, that Conan O'Brien is taking over the Tonight Show? Did you hear that?
When does that happen?
It happens in 2009.
5 years from now.
5 years from now, yeah. Jay Leno has decided he's stepping down after in 5 years.
Jay Leno stepping down?
Yeah, it's apparently getting to him. So in 5 years, he's stepping down in 5 years.
But he does nothing but work,
That's
Jay
right.
Leno.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
Folks, I looked at the facts on this one. NBC gives Mr. Conan O'Brien Tonight Show, but Mr. Jay Leno never wanted to retire.
But let's be clear. You don't want to retire.
No, I don't want to retire. No, I don't want to retire.
This is a clip from Mr. Howie Mandel's podcast. Everybody has a podcast these days. And Mr. Howie was at NBC doing Deal or No Deal at this time.
So I know the story. I know the inside. I meant NBC, okay?
So where was I? All right, Mr. Jay Leno did not want to retire.
No, I don't want to retire.
I mean, Mr. Jay Leno was still #1 in the ratings, and he'd been #1 basically his whole time doing Tonight Show. So a simple fact of the matter is, Jay has the best job in show business, and he doesn't want to retire.
No, I don't want to retire.
So, Mr. Conan O'Brien, if you're going to step up to the plate and take a swing at the king, you best not miss. Boy, you best have all your marbles in order, or things are going to get real sticky.
And so they went to Jay, Big Jaw Leno, and they said, Jay, we're taking your show away from you.
So they said, listen, we would like to do 5 more years. I said, great. I'd love to do 5 more years.
And Jay said, yeah, okay, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. We'll say you get the Tonight Show in 5 years. They sign that. Gavin says...
Howie is referring to Gavin Pallone, Conan O'Brien's manager at the time.
Gavin says, I want it announced now.
Right.
So they call you and said, you have to announce your retirement.
They demanded that I say I'm going to leave in 5 years, even though I was going to be there another 5 years, because Conan people wanted that. I said, all right, fine, and I'll leave in 5 years.
So Conan's team wants this arrangement announced publicly.
There's all talk about Conan O'Brien. Will he go to ABC? Will he go to one of these other networks? And they came to me and they said, we don't want to lose Conan O'Brien. And I said, oh, okay, what does that mean? And I said, we think Conan would be a good replacement, as I do. Conan is a gentleman, funny, the hottest late-night guy out there, excellent. And I said, you know something? I don't want to see Conan go anywhere else.
Foreshadowing alert, folks. I don't think Jay quite meant what he was saying here.
It's 5 years from today, and I want to say I don't think there's a better choice. Because, you know, when I took this show over, boy, there was a lot of animosity between me and Dave and who's going to get it. And quite frankly, a lot of what I thought, well, good friendships were permanently damaged. And I don't want to see anybody ever have to go through that again. You know, this show is like a dynasty. You hold it, and then you hand it off to the next person. And I don't want to see all the fighting and all, and who's better, and nasty things back and forth in the press. So right now, here it is. Conan, it's yours. See you in 5 years, buddy. Okay.
Do I think what?
Do you think that's really going to happen? Do you know, Jay...
I think it's about a 40% chance that's going to happen.
Jay Leno's a funny guy. I read the book Late Shift, where they talk about all the different late-night hosts, and it said that Jay wanted that job so bad he would hide in closets and listen into the NBC executives talking about his fate, and he wanted the job from Letterman. I don't see this guy leaving and letting you walk in, and I'm concerned about you.
You're concerned? What about me?
Remember years and years and years ago when they were having meetings about were they going to give the Tonight Show to Jay or are they going to give it to me?
I do.
And they had a big meeting out there in Burbank, and Jay, bless his heart, was hiding in the closet. Do you remember that? Isn't that crazy?
So back in 1992, when NBC was trying to decide whether they wanted Mr. David Letterman or Mr. Jay Leno to take over for Johnny Carson, Jay Leno snuck into a tiny closet-like office that was next to where the NBC executives were meeting, and he snuck in there and hid out during the meeting so that he could learn who was on his side and who wasn't.
Everybody here? Who was that? That's Jay. He's in the closet. Are you in the closet, Jay?
He's in there.
Okay, he's here. Buddy. Whoa, buddy.
So I don't know quite what to make of this. All I do know is that if I were the one trapped in a cramped office for a long while, I'd be getting thirsty and be getting low on energy. And when I'm both thirsty and low on energy, there's only one solution in the world I trust. It's called
Brain Driller, the ultimate energy experience with flavors you know and love, like Apple Explosion. Now comes our long-awaited flavor, Heart Murder. It's not so much an energy drink as it is a low-grade poison. Well, let's leave all those nitty-gritty details to the lawyers while we live the Brain Driller life.
Sorry about that, folks. Just trying to pay the light bulb bills around here. We're paying so much for light bulbs. I wish there was a way to pay less.
Are you tired of huge light bulb bills? Are you fed up with Big Light squeezing your hard-earned dollar with their greed? Fight back with Dollar Light Club. For the equivalent price of a pack of cigs an hour, we send you any number of light bulbs you need for your house. That's less than $1 a light bulb. Dollar Light Club. Let's club them with light and save dollars doing it.
Anyways, fast forward a few years to 2009. All goes to plan, except for one little detail that we'll talk about in a minute. Cohen takes over Tonight Show, and Jimmy Fallon takes over Conan's old show.
And then they bring in a likable young newcomer, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
He's on the program. And then now also out there in the ionosphere is Carson Daly, who I've never seen in my life.
You mean you've never seen him personally?
I've never seen him.
The show.
I have no idea who that is.
Either way.
Never seen him in my life, and he's got a show. He's like the Pluto of
comes
talk
on,
shows.
yeah.
It's like, is it really a show? Is it a planet?
Yeah.
Is it not a planet? Is it a show?
A show, yeah.
So in February of 2009, Conan O'Brien does his last 12:30 show.
I don't know what I did to deserve the opportunity to do this. There are people that have hosted these kinds of shows who are, I'm sure, better than I am. Nobody has ever enjoyed it more than I do. It's an incredible, amazing honor to do this program for you people.
He spends next few months moving his whole show out to California to start the Tonight Show on June 1st.
I just want to say I couldn't be happier. You were the only choice. You were the perfect choice. You have been an absolute gentleman in private and in the press. I agree. Conan rocks. Good luck next week, my friend.
Jay, thank you for everything.
Here's a question, folks. Do you even remember where you were in June 2009? I was in London with two. You want to talk about a life hack? Man, that was a long time ago. A simpler time, folks. So Mr. Jay Leno hands off the Tonight Show, but over the next 6 months is when things get real unruly.
What is this basket for?
Oh, this is an older basket. I procrastinate, as you know. And this is a basket I got you back in June.
It says congrats on it. That's terrific.
Oh, I don't know if can I read it?
Yeah, why not?
Congratulations, Conan, on finally securing your place as permanent host of The Tonight Show. That's something they can never take away from you.
Ooh-wee, big mystery, folks. Why did Mr. Conan O'Brien quit his dream job after only 6 months? So the thing I failed to mention earlier was that when 2009 rolled around, NBC television network really didn't want Jay Leno to go to a competing network. And also, Mr. Jay Leno didn't want to see Jay Leno go to another television network.
They realized really quickly that if you announced your retirement, that ABC, CBS, and Fox, you're there for the poaching.
Right.
When you did leave The Tonight Show, there must have been offers to do opposite The Tonight Show from Fox or something.
There were a lot.
When NBC was going to turned the show over to Conan, Jay was talking to ABC about coming on at 11:30. They needed to get my permission in contractually because I was contracted to be on at midnight, not 12:30.
I called Jimmy Kimmel and I said, I'm getting offers from ABC. I don't want to start a whole thing here.
Folks, here's the deal on this one. Is it just me, folks? Or does anybody else find it odd? Jay Leno never wants to cause a stink about anything.
I don't want to start a whole thing here.
I don't want to see anybody ever have to go through that again.
Yet, somehow there's always a stink about everything.
I always thought that you're doing the right thing. I always felt I was doing the right thing. And you go, how can you do the right thing and just have it go so wrong? Maybe I'm not doing the right thing.
Folks, this raises some excellent questions on what even is right and wrong when it comes down to it. Riddle me this, folks. If there were a train track, if there were 5 people on a train track, and there's a train that's coming, and it's coming real fast, and there's another track with only one person, and the train is headed towards the one person, would you switch it to hit the 5 people? I don't know what's right or wrong there. Or here's another one, folks. What if you needed bread? What if your mother needed bread? Folks, what if you were standing in a grocery store and you had no money, but you had a real sick mother and she needs bread? Folks, what if your obese, sickly, fat fucking mother needed a bunch of bread? I don't even remember how this one goes. I should probably stop interjecting like this. It seems to really distract from the story at hand. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Jay Leno doesn't want to cause a stink, but somehow there's always a stink anyways. Johnny Carson had a big old stink. David Letterman, big stink. Conan O'Brien, this whole video actually covers this stink. And turns out Jimmy Kimmel had a stink too.
So they wanted to get my permission first. Oh. And so at that time, Jay called me a lot. And, we spoke about all sorts of things. And I felt like we were having a friendly relationship.
I'm getting offers from ABC. I don't want to start a whole thing here. If they're talking to put me on 11:30, would you want to go on at 12:30? I think he said, yeah, he'd like to. I said, oh, okay. We became friends.
He wanted me to move. He wanted to be on 11:30, and I would move to 12:30. And I finally said, okay, yeah, I think I would do that. And then the day NBC decided, no, we're keeping Jay, never heard from him again.
I heard Kimmel talk to you about that. I had called him, and I did. And I didn't realize I was supposed to do a follow-up call with him, and I certainly apologize for that.
So let's back up just a little bit, folks. As Conan's takeover of The Tonight Show is drawing near, NBC realizes that they really don't want to lose Jay Leno because, as it turns out, folks, they really like having a #1 show on their network. But they have to give Conan The Tonight Show because of their prior agreement. So what NBC does is they allow Jay to stick around and they put him at 10 p.m. in prime time.
They go, Jay, don't go to another network. We're going to make your show, same show, in prime time.
Jay, who knows a lot about television, a lot about TV ratings, maybe more than anyone I've ever met.
I'll bet.
Was offered the 10 p.m. slot. Now, they don't have to violate Conan's contract. Jay knew that lead-in is hugely important.
Stunning how Jay Leno outfoxed you again.
Yeah, he's good.
I know. You think, like, everybody's like, oh, I'm Jay Leno. They do the voice and everything. Meanwhile, he's the shrewdest guy.
I just figured, let's just play this out and see what happens.
You're in good company. He outfoxed Johnny Carson, David Letterman. Every 10 years, some redheaded rube shows up.
I'm like some clown off the bus with cardboard suit. Gee golly, this is going to be great.
Yeah, you can have it after me. You go, hey, thanks, Jay.
So, Mr. Conan O'Brien, who had given 5 years to NBC under the promise of inheriting The Tonight Show, before he even begins, they already announced that Jay Leno's going to be sticking around and doing a 10 p.m. show starting in September. Here's a TV ad I found promoting that show.
Research shows America wants more comedy.
I thought the audience wanted more pancakes.
Ooh, sorry, Jessica Alba, but it's more comedy, served fresh every night, which is why we're bringing you the Jay Leno Show.
You mean I made all these pancakes for nothing?
Uh-huh. But we'll be cooking up a full hour of comedy in prime time.
Radio call at 1 a.m. that said, Grandma's drunk and ready to fight.
The Jay Leno Show. New comedy at 10, 9 Central. Premieres September 14th. On NBC.
I'm a little sad I never watched the Jay Leno Show. Back in the day, it seems like a very funny hour of comedy at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
I'd like to say something about Mr. Jay Leno. Every night at the end of The Tonight Show, Jay Leno says, stay tuned for Conan O'Brien. He has done that since 1993. The Tonight Show under Jay Leno has been a powerhouse. His success turned into success for us. I owe that man a great deal. I'm thrilled that we get to be friends for all of our time in television and that he will continue to be my lead-in. And I'm thrilled that we're on the same network. And so my thanks to Jay Leno for all he's done for me.
Gavin Pallone calls the network and says, all right, so we have The Tonight Show at 11:30. You just gave Jay the 10 p.m. show. I think you're fucking us.
Jay completely sabotaged him. By going on at 10 o'clock, they gave Jay all the best guests.
Right.
They took away all of Conan O'Brien's excitement and thunder.
Right, and then there's also
him.
no lead-in between 10 and 11 because their audience is gone.
You watch the ratings. You know how to book it. You know where the ratings go down.
10 o'clock talk shows don't work. It didn't work for Cavett in '68. It doesn't work.
He knew that doing his show would have maybe half those ratings, turned out to be like a third. And even if that show failed, it would make the Tonight Show's ratings drop. And that's what happened.
And for all intents and purposes, the Tonight Show is not doing great.
Right, and somehow this is my fault, you know.
Okay, quick sidebar, folks. What kind of a name is Conan, anyways, if you think about it? It's real weird, folks. You ever have a name or a word where you think about it too long and then you're like, how is that even a word? You just like stare at it too long and then it starts to seem weird. I guess it's kind of odd anything exists at all. Anyways.
So last night, Jay gave his State of the Network speech, and he said that we should not blame Conan for what's going on.
Don't blame Conan.
Don't blame Conan for what's going on. And I said to myself, no one is blaming Conan.
There was all kinds of talk about our ratings not being very good, but they were pretty good all summer.
Sure.
And then our lead-in changed.
Right.
And they weren't so good anymore.
It's very hard, I would think, to have a lead-in for a
On behalf of everyone involved, please don't blame Conan.
Don't blame Conan.
I know a lot of you people think that Conan pushed himself out of a job.
Well, don't blame him.
He's not that kind of guy. He would never do that to himself.
Conan had a bad lead-in from Jay.
But should Jay have not taken the 10 p.m. spot because of that? Why is Jay always looking out for Conan's interest?
No, I'm not saying he's looking out for Conan's interest. I'm just saying it's somewhat diabolical, don't you think?
Diabolical?
Please don't blame Conan.
Blame
okay, that's all I got tonight. All right, that's...
You know, it's just one of those awkward situations where he was a huge Letterman guy.
Yes.
And when Letterman didn't get to Tonight Show, somehow it was my fault.
Jay also let us know last night that Conan is a family guy.
Apparently, yeah. Good. He said he was a good family guy. Good family man.
So he should not have taken the 10 p.m. slot. He should not have kept working in the air in the job they offered him. He should say, no, because of Conan's career, I'm not going to work at 10 p.m. I don't get that.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I think from the beginning his plan was to retake the Tonight Show.
I hope you're not planning on blaming Conan, are you?
Well, I wasn't.
I mean, in the thousands and thousands of words that have been printed about this mess, who has blamed Conan? No one.
I don't think so.
No one has blamed Conan.
Did you expect NBC to give you more of a chance?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, listen up. Here's the deal. So NBC has 2 failing shows on their hand. So since Jay Leno's show isn't doing too well at 10 p.m., NBC is going to have to produce another show to fill that primetime slot. Because a lot of reason they put Jay there in the first place was to try to save a little bit of money, because putting Jay there was a lot cheaper than producing a whole drama or a real TV show.
So now NBC is really, really up against it, trying to come up with new shows to replace all the other ones that are gone now. And look what they've come up with so far. I think you're going to like this one.
In the television industry, there are 2 types of talk show hosts: Jay Leno and those who have been victimized by Jay Leno. These are their stories.
And Carson Daly, woo, this is kind of, here's a kid who had a show at, when did the show go on, 1:30?
Yeah, well, 1:35.
Having a show at 1:30 is almost exactly like not having a show. The difference between having a show and having one at 1:30,
very little
just about like
So
that.
where were we, folks? Mr. Jay Leno gets canceled at 10 p.m. That time slot is just a brutal flop. So I guess it turns out America didn't want more comedy.
Research shows America wants more comedy.
I thought the audience wanted more pancakes.
Radio call at 1 a.m. that said, Grandma's drunk and ready to fight.
So the folks at NBC, they go to Mr. Jay Leno, and they're trying to make a plan to resolve all this mess.
So you get a call, and they ask you, before they ask Conan, because you're still on the network, would you be willing to go back and do a half-hour show at 11:35?
Right.
So because Jay's show failed at 10 p.m., now NBC formulates a third plan. So they say, listen up, Conan, you can have the Tonight Show still, but we're going to have to push you back to midnight, and we're going to move your butt, buddy, old Mr. Jay Leno, back to 11:30.
So now that moves everybody down. So poor Jimmy Fallon gets bumped. He's now running. He'll be on at 1. And then what about Carson Daly? He's really screwed. But nobody seems to care about that.
But folks, rest assured with this plan that Jay Leno doesn't want to cause another stink.
I said, look, I don't want to go through this again. Conan, he goes, if Conan moves back to 12, would you do a half hour at 11:30?
Well, they say to Jay, would you go back on at 11:30 and we'll put Conan on at 12? And Jay goes, yeah, well, I guess I'd do that only if Conan's okay with it.
I said, talk to Conan. If he'll go to 12, I'll do a half hour. Just do a monologue of one guest.
So confusing, ladies and gentlemen. And Jay Leno used to be on at 11:30, then they moved him to 10, and then Conan O'Brien was on at 11:30. Now they want him to go on at 12:05, and then they would put Jay from 10 to 11:30.
Well, okay, maybe we're going to slide Conan over to accommodate this other gentleman who's having his difficulties in another time period, and I won't get into specifics. You'll have to look it up.
And then Jimmy Fallon gets pushed back to, when does he start? He would start then at 1.
Yeah, he would.
And then at 2, the other guy, Carson Daly,
yeah,
his show would have started at 2. Yeah. And I called NBC, and they said, well, we've never heard of Carson Daly.
So folks, Mr. Conan O'Brien had a decision to make. Do I stick around and keep doing the Tonight Show technically and follow Mr. Jay Leno? Or do I say that this has been too much malfeasance and I'm done? Or do I scurry on down to the corner store and buy myself
an ice-cold brain driller? The ultimate energy experience with flavors you know and love, like Mutant Made by Milk. Now comes our long-awaited flavor, Heart Murmur. The FDA is riding our ass.
So you better stock up while you can.
Brain driller. If you don't buy one, I'll kick you in the throat.
Brain driller.
Sincere apologies, folks. We should get someone to vet these sponsors. Frankly, that's just ridiculous and confusing.
Did someone say ridiculous and confusing? To me, what's ridiculous and confusing is the thought that anyone would live another second of their life not being subscribed to Dollar Light Club. Dollar Light Club. We are savagely clubbing the competition, and not even the light of heaven will be enough to save them from the immutable fact that we save our customers fat stacks of dollars.
And I said, you know what, that doesn't really work for me, I think in a fairly polite way.
You know, they said, you're moving to 12:05, and he said, well, I'm not going to follow Jay on The Tonight Show.
Right.
What are you going to do about it?
You can't.
Yeah! What are you going to do about it? Oh, yeah? What are you going to do about it?
Conan sticks up for himself a little bit. He says, Tonight Show at 12 o'clock, Tonight Show behind Mr. Jay Leno is not at all in line with the spirit of our original deal. And I'm not doing it.
Everybody said they were going to do something, and then they didn't.
Right.
You know, they all said years ago, we're going to do something, and then they didn't.
They broke the deal.
Oh, so he did stay 5 years.
He did stay 5 years.
Long story short, folks, Conan O'Brien has drank his last straw.
When it started to get toxic and I started to feel that I'm not sure these people even really want me here, let's just, I can't do it.
And he writes an open letter to the public. And in this letter, here's what he says. I've been suddenly put in a very public predicament. My bosses are demanding me a decision. So he goes over the whole situation and concludes, my staff and I have worked unbelievably hard, and we are very proud of our contribution to the legacy of Tonight Show. But I cannot participate in what I honestly believe is its destruction.
I don't know how thought out this whole thing was, but if they wanted me to leave, it worked.
From my perspective, it felt like they never really gave him the job. That they said, we're going to give you this job in 5 years, and they kept him with the company, and he said, I won't go anywhere else, and I'll keep working for you, and I'm in it for the long haul, and it felt like they lost their nerve to really make a change.
It made me angry because there was this perception that for some reason Jay had decided to give up the show. It was like he gave the show to Conan and then he took it back. That was not what happened, okay? That was not what happened.
I know too much pride can hurt you so bad. It makes you forget the good things you had. Now I ought to know.
NBC is my home. Don't forget, back in 2004, I went into work one day and, hey, you lost the show. What? So suddenly it was taken from me, and then they said, we want to give it back to you. I said, fine.
Did you try and talk NBC into getting rid of Conan so you could come back?
No, never. I never in my wildest dreams thought that was going
Jay Leno back on The Tonight Show the Monday after the Olympics.
to. And then they put me back in, and we became #1 again.
But after you left, why didn't you go to Fox or some other place?
I'm pretty loyal. I don't...
What? Loyal to these assholes who fired you?
5 years ago, when NBC said to Jay, you know what, Conan's going to take over your job in 5 years, that's when you say, okay, fine, no hard feelings. You call ABC, you call Fox, you try to get my job, you leave. You don't, yeah, okay, but I'll be in the lobby, if you need me.
I had a show, my show got canceled. They weren't happy with the other guy's show. They said, we want you to go back. I said, okay. And this seemed to make a lot of people really upset. And I go, well, who wouldn't take that job, though? Who wouldn't do that?
It's somewhat diabolical, don't you think?
Diabolical?
I mean, I would never do anything like that.
Why?
What's the best prank you ever pulled? I think the best prank I ever pulled was I told a guy that 5 years from now, I'm going to give you my show. And then when the 5 years came, I gave it to him, and then I took it back almost instantly. Wow.
Jay Leno, on the other hand, seems to be the kind of showbiz animal that will not let go.
Guys, talk yourselves out. Howard, have a good time. Trash me all you want, fine.
Here is a guy who worked on The Tonight Show for 17 years. He was #1 in his time slot.
Right.
He gets fired by NBC. They put on Conan O'Brien. What would you do as a man? Wouldn't you go to another network?
You know, I used to love it when he would go on Letterman. I'm going to trash Leno tonight, and then I'd check the ratings the next day, and we would beat Howard.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back with Rob Schneider. I'm going to find someone who will have sex with me.
Leno would say, look, I was riding high. I was #1, and I was still #1 when I left, and Conan made this deal with NBC, and NBC said, okay, Jay, we're going to take you off the air in 5 years, regardless of whether you're #1 or #2 or what. I think he felt like he was forced out by NBC at a time when he was a strong #1 and was pushed out the door. That's his argument.
Folks, I think the big stink here is just these two having a difference in philosophies.
What was the relationship like with Jay before this?
Occasional phone call and...
Did you feel a kinship, a camaraderie?
It's a busy world.
If a star is up for a movie and they don't get it and another star gets, I mean, do you not like that person? I don't know.
There are very few ways in which he and I relate.
Right.
We're not interested in, I don't think, in the same things.
How many cars do you have?
I got 201 on the road and 168 motorcycles.
201.
I don't own many automobiles that were made before 1904. Primarily of brass and leather. And so I don't know what to...
Now we're going. Now we're getting someplace.
You know, when you do a show like The Tonight Show at 11:30, you can't be outrageous every night. You've got to become now, okay, people lying in bed or watching late at night. It's got to be a bit more relaxed. It's got to have a different pacing to it.
I think about all the things we did over the years that are just completely absurd, obscene, weird. They didn't go through any filter whatsoever.
And my attitude was, Letterman will get the cool kids and the critics, and I'll take the popular vote. You want to be the cool guy and lose the Tonight Show after a few months, or do you want to keep it going? Well, the idea, it's a business. You've been hired to do a job, so you have to act and perform a certain way to do that job.
It's an incredible, amazing honor to do this program for you people. And I want to say something about, we're going on to this next gig, and sometimes I read that it's time for Conan to grow up because he's going to 11:30, and I assure you, that's just not going to happen. I can't. This is who I am, for better or worse. And it's just, I don't know how.
How did you do it?
Well, I think you're trying to appeal to the whole spectrum.
And really, folks, this video is way too long. The entire reason NBC let Conan walk away is because his buyout was only $40 million. And when Mr. Jay Leno negotiated his new contract for his 10 p.m. show, he set his buyout amount at $150 million. So when Mr. Jay Leno's 10 p.m. show failed, then at that point NBC had a pretty easy decision on who they were going to let walk away.
10 o'clock talk shows don't work. It didn't work for Cavett in '68. It doesn't work.
Jay, who knows a lot about television, a lot about TV ratings, maybe more than anyone I've ever met. I'll bet.
And then they put me back in, and we became #1 again.
But after you left, why didn't you go to Fox or some other place?
I'm pretty loyal. I don't...
What? Loyal to these assholes who fired you?
Jay wanted that job so bad, he would hide in closets and let them listen into the NBC executives.
It's a business. You've been hired to do a job, so you have to act and perform a certain way to do that job.
If you look at the monologue, for every smart, insightful joke, there's a goofy joke, and a silly joke, and a fun joke, and then a clever joke. That's the trick. You try to have something for everybody.
And it's worked for you.
Seems to.
We put together this segment. It's called Getting to Know Carson Daly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carson Daly is a talk show host, or a comedian, or a VJ, or something like that, who has a show on NBC at 1:30 a.m. Or maybe 2. I'm not really sure. I only saw him once when my dog was up all night vomiting. This has been Getting to Know Carson Daly.
I think the biggest concern of mine is it takes a while to get your personality out over TV. It doesn't happen overnight. It's sort of like laying a mosaic. If you look at any one tile, you don't know what it is. It takes a while to get your whole personality out. So I think it's going to take a little while for people to get to know who I am.
What do you want to do with it? I mean, what kind of show do you want?
I want to accumulate a lot of power and then abuse it.
Yes, I think so.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Folks are already calling Conan O'Brien TV's best-known unknown. A week ago, he was happily working as a comedy writer on The Simpsons. Now he's set to go under the microscope, replacing David Letterman as the new host of Late Night.
I was like eating a big sandwich, and they called me on the phone and said, I had this job. This is seriously true. And I'm thrilled. Yeah. I mean, it's something I've wanted to do all my life. I'm ecstatic.
And like right here tonight is like your first time on TV.
Well,
yeah. Dave Letterman is a legend here at NBC, and if there's anything that's fun to do, it's replacing legends at NBC. I know.
In about 34 minutes, David Letterman is going to air his last episode of late night television. And way back in 1993, I took over David Letterman's iconic late night television show. I was a complete unknown with absolutely no experience performing on television. I was utterly and totally unprepared for that enormous job. The conventional wisdom, everybody thought that I should be immediately canceled. And my network started to make it clear that I probably wouldn't be around very long. After 4 really dreary months, out of the blue, we got a message at the show that David Letterman wanted to come on the program as a guest. Now, understand, Dave wasn't just the biggest late night star at the time. He was the biggest thing on television. He didn't go on other people's shows. I just want you to know tonight that if you have ever liked any silly or stupid thing that I've done on television over the 22 years, you must know that it probably never would have happened if it weren't for Dave. At one of the lowest points of my life, when I was a 30-year-old national punchline, Dave, for reasons I still don't really understand, completely rescued me. I want to ask you something. This is a question that people wouldn't expect, but when I first got this job, I came here to 30 Rock.
How did you get this job, by the way? Was it a theme writing contest? Or
Yes.
What?
Yes. Yeah. It was a what would I do with a talk show, and I was 4th.
After that night, that one appearance, everything turned around for me. The morale of the staff shot through the ceiling. My producer, my writers, Andy, we all thought that if David Letterman can come on our show and say a few kind words, maybe, just maybe, we can earn the right to be here.
And ultimately, television is just a factory.
Right.
Okay.
You wouldn't have come back on The Tonight Show.
If I had surrendered the Tonight Show and handed it over to somebody publicly and wished them well, and then I would not have come back 6 months later. But that's me, you know. Everyone's got their own, way of doing things.
What would you have done?
done something else, go someplace else. I mean, that's just me.
Look at the integrity of a David Letterman. David Letterman was rejected by NBC. He was told he was being passed over for the job. Did he sit there like a dog and take that from NBC? No, he did what any man would do. He got up and he moved over to CBS.
You go across the street and you punish NBC and you make them eat your words.
Right.
And then then Conan has a job. Jay has a job. I have a job. What's his name? Lonnie Donegan? What's his name?
Yeah. The guy
Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon has a job.
You got $30 million that you didn't have before. You got a very lucrative new gig on TBS, which has an audience that
very young audience,
custom made for you. It wasn't all bad.
That's the point I keep making.
I don't know what to tell you to do about Carson Daly. I got no solutions there. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? You don't like NBC either, do you? Because they're the ones that screwed with you because you kept making all the OJ jokes, huh?
No, I don't not like them. I'm exactly the same with them. Like, they had a right to not hire me, just like they have a right to not hire or fire anybody they want. I could care less. Plus, there's enough networks for Conan, who I think is great. I think he's hilarious. If I was NBC, I'd keep Conan probably, because he's so much younger. Leno has a case. Letterman has a case.
Yeah, so what do they do, though? You said you'd keep Conan, but Conan wants The Tonight Show.
But it doesn't matter what TV show. It doesn't matter what. I don't know why these guys care about time slots. Or everybody just puts their things on TiVo.
Yeah, I tape it too.
Yeah, I just tape everything. I don't even tape anything. I just see it on YouTube. These guys are living in the 50s where 11:30 is important.
I heard
why is
Conan
11:30 important?
I heard Conan say that is
well
important.
Said, Norm.
No, I don't know why it's important. It's a number.
This world's gonna burn.
How many cars do you have?
I got 201 on the road and 168 motorcycles.
201, and how many motorcycles?
168.
What is the most valuable car?
Here's what all of you have done. You made a sad situation joyous and inspirational. So to all the people watching, I can never, ever thank you enough for the kindness to me. I'll think about it for the rest of my life. And all I ask is one thing, and I'm asking this particularly of young people that watch. Please do not be cynical. I hate cynicism. For the record, it's my least favorite quality. It doesn't lead anywhere.
You're the new king of late night. Thank you. Long live the king.
It's crucial to me that anyone seeing this take anything away from this. It's
Wow.
I committed murder.
I like life, man.
You do, really?
Oh, my God. People that complain about it. There's so many more people that never got to be alive. You know? And,
That's an interesting point. I guess you're right. If you do the math.
So when people carp about it, I'm like, man, it's the greatest gig in the world, being alive. You get to eat at Denny's, wear a hat, whatever you want.
Yeah.